Support for Up to Date is provided by Geisinger, providing world-class care for our community, here where it matters.
Hello and welcome to Up to Date from WVIA News. I'm Sarah Scinto, here to keep you up to date on all the news you should know about. Between the Lieutenant Governor and the U.S. Secretary of Energy, the region was politically busy on Monday. And we've got some school days classics to recommend in the latest Bookmarks. It's Tuesday, August 25th. Let's get into it. We'll start with the Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis showed up Monday morning to push Governor Josh Shapiro's re-election at a South Scranton Union Hall. As WVIA's Boris Krawchenyuk reports, Davis did not have anything nice to say about Shapiro's election opponent.
Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis said Republican governor candidate Stacey Garrity would likely rubber stamp everything President Donald Trump wants to do if she's elected, and that would hurt Pennsylvanians.
Let me be clear. Stacey Garrity is campaigning on replicating Donald Trump's horrible policy and his cost-raising agenda while bringing his chaos and confusion to Pennsylvania.
Davis is Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro's running mate. The lieutenant governor said Trump's agenda includes cost-raising tariffs, health care cuts that skyrocketed insurance premiums and eliminated coverage for thousands, and his war of choice in Iran that raised gasoline prices. Davis said Garrity is already pledging complete allegiance to Trump.
Look no further than her appearance a few weeks ago in the Oval Office by his side. Stacey Garrity is completely aligned with the MAGA agenda 100%. Proving she belongs nowhere near the governor's office. Davis's
stop was the latest part of a recent Democratic push to firmly strap Garrity to Trump in the minds of voters because Trump is unpopular. Matt Boehnen, a spokesman for Garrity's campaign, said she's only sworn a pledge of loyalty when she joined the United States Army Reserve and promised to defend the United States. Boehnen accused Davis of peddling rubbish because he and Shapiro have absolutely no accomplishments to promote. Reporting from Scranton, I'm Boris Krawchenyuk, WVIA News.
Thanks, Boris. Find this full story at WVIA.org. Now to Schuylkill County for another visit. Chris Wright, the U.S. Secretary of Energy, is on the Great American Energy Comeback Tour. In Schuylkill County, Wright toured a power station fueled by coal waste alongside 3 Republican congressmen. WVIA's Kat Bolas has more from the Secretary's visit.
Wright says the different regions of the United States have different energy resources. In Schuylkill County, that's coal.
The Biden administration counted success in how many coal plants did they close. And if you close coal plants, you close coal mines. That meant more expensive electricity prices and greater risk of blackouts.
Wright toured the Gilberton Power Company, John B. Rich Memorial Power Station in Frackville. Wright says federal support for companies like the power station keep costs down for Americans.
And what we want to promote in the Trump administration is just common sense. Harvest the resources you have to make your people better off, to make your economy better off, and help us reindustrialize America.
At the station, coal waste from years of mining in northeast Pennsylvania heats water and creates steam. The steam powers turbines, which are connected to generators. Brian Rich is president of the company. He says during the Obama administration, many coal-fired plants closed because of regulations. His company adapted. Rich says it felt like for a long time the government was out to get companies like his, but not now.
These guys are champions of American ingenuity.
Wright also stopped in Lackawanna County during his visit to the region. Reporting from Frackville, I'm Kat Bolas, WVIA News.
Thanks, Kat. Stay with us. There's more up to date after this break.
I'm Roger Dupuis from WVIA News. If you haven't already, sign up to get our free newsletter, WVIA News Notes. It's delivered right to your email inbox each Tuesday and Friday mornings. Go to WVIA.org and click on newsletters to subscribe.
Welcome back. Well, it's back to school time, and today we're getting back to bookmarks. Here's more. It's time for back to school, and seeing posts about college move-in days and back-to-school shopping has me thinking about all of the incredible books I've read in school. This week we asked for your favorite books you read in school, but since education is a big part of WVIA's mission, you'll find a few more staff recommendations than usual. Either way, we hope this week's recommendations encourage you to read or reread some school days classics.
Hi, I'm Teresa Zabecki, the Education Program Manager here at WVIA, and my favorite book is The Pout Pout Fish by Deborah Dyson, pictures by Dan Hanna. I love to read this book to kids because it has a lovely rhyme scheme. I often find myself reciting the reoccurring chorus of the book repeatedly throughout my day. The Pout Pout Fish is about a grumpy fish named Mr. Fish who swims throughout the sea spreading his grumpiness until, in a twist of events, he meets a special sunfish that turns his frown upside down. The kids always have a giggle in the ending. The Pout Pout Fish serves as a reminder for kids and adults that spreading joy is always better than spreading negativity. So don't be a Pout Pout Fish with a pout pout face. Be a kiss kiss fish that spreads the cheery wearies all over the place.
Hi, my name is Amy Yannick, and my favorite book from school was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I love this book because it was told through the eyes of a child, and that made it relatable to me. The topics of rape and racism are very difficult topics, but Scout takes us on her journey through the world as she sees it from her young eyes. And at the end, her realization that our similarities are much greater than our differences really ties it all together. Great book. I highly recommend it.
Hi, this is Vicki Austin, Chief Development and Education Officer at WVIA and avid book reader. When I was in the 6th grade, my teacher, Miss Raymond, introduced me to Madeleine L'Engle. Most people remember L'Engle for A Wrinkle in Time. However, I was introduced to the world of the fictional Vicki Austin in her book, A Ring of Endless Light. In this narrative, a teenage Vicki navigates young love, the challenges of family relationships amidst the impending loss of a loved one, and most importantly to my 6th grade self, develops deep relationships with dolphins as part of a summer research study. Imagine my delight when I grew up to marry an Austin who took me to Florida to learn about and swim with dolphins in the wild, a dream come true. I recently reread this book, and while it is certainly written for a much younger person, I greatly enjoyed revisiting that time in my life again through the experiences of much-loved and never-forgotten Austin family members. I love that books have the ability to connect our past to our present.
I'm Roger Dupuis from the WVIA News team. I first read John Knoll's 1959 coming-of-age novel, A Separate Piece, when it was assigned to my high school English class in the late 1980s. It centers on the tragic friendship of Jean and Phineas, students at a prestigious New England boarding school during World War II. Jean, the narrator, is intellectual, somewhat introverted, brooding, and mistrustful. Phineas is athletic, charismatic, daring, but also kind-hearted and naive to the point of self-delusion. These young men, on the verge of their senior year in the summer of 1942, live in a fragile, privileged bubble which they know is soon to burst with enlistment or being drafted into the military. Their lives take a darker turn before the war can intervene. I didn't understand this book at 14 or 15 because I had not yet come of age myself. 20 years later, an English teacher friend put it in a new perspective for me. "You know they're both gay," she said of Jean and Phineas. I picked up the book again at that time, but I couldn't bring myself to finish it. The story was just too painful now that I was seeing it in that light. Nearly 20 more years would pass. I finally read A Separate Piece again this month. In preparation for this column, it broke me. But an important caveat is required here. The author, in a 1987 interview, denied any gay aspect to the book. If there had been homoeroticism between Phineas and Jean, I would have put it in the book, I assure you. It simply wasn't there, Knowles said. This novel about high school seniors never describes or implies any physically intimate contact between the central characters, or anyone else for that matter, save for an unspecified student harboring a coveted lock of hair from a woman described as the professional town belle. Knowles is strictly correct then. I also think he was being disingenuous, but not maliciously so. Maybe he was simply being cautious in an era when he couldn't tell the story he truly wished to tell. Still, generations of readers, now including me, have recognized something of ourselves and our emotional struggles in the tortured friendship between Jean and Phineas. There are cheeky, all-too-obvious moments, like the one when Phineas puts on a pink shirt and Jean says it makes him look, quote, like a fairy, which Phineas blithely shrugs off. But the heart of their story is told in weightier moments, with words left unsaid, hints of lonely longing, and flashes of the destructive anger that burns in Jean's soul. There's a memorable episode in which Phineas and Jean play hooky from school, riding bikes to the ocean. They swim, stroll the boardwalk, buy beers using forged draft cards, and eventually fall asleep on the beach. In the last quiet moments of the day, Phineas tells Jean he hoped he had a good time. You can't come to the shore with just anybody, Phineas says, concluding the proper person is your best pal. He hesitated and then added, which is what you are, and then there was silence on his dune. Jean does not respond. I started to. I nearly did. But something held me back, Jean recalls. Perhaps I was stopped by that level of feeling deeper than truth, which contains the truth. Readers are left to decide for themselves what Jean is referring to. I know what I think. But whatever it was, his toxic ambivalence toward Phineas defines the entire novel. Most of us, in one way or another, spend our lives grappling with the consequences of our own character flaws and our youthful mistakes. That is, perhaps, the universal message to be taken away from the book, regardless of how you see the relationship between its two central characters.
Hi everyone, Sarah Scinto here with my recommendation for this week. I had the pleasure of reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein twice for school, once for high school British literature class, then again at King's College for Dr. Wallace's Romantic Age class, which was also the class I sat in on as a prospective student. The fact they were discussing this book I already knew and loved then wasn't the entire reason I ended up going to King's, but it definitely helped. We all know the basics of Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein, a young alchemy-obsessed scientist, finds a new way to create life. He assembles a body from disparate parts and, in an unorthodox experiment, gives the humanoid creature life. But when it awakens, Dr. Frankenstein flees in terror of his own creation, and the monster disappears. The creature is left alone to discover his origin, his identity, and how to exist in a world of humans who fear and despise him. I remember this being one of the books I was eager to read and discuss in class. From the moment Victor Frankenstein, rescued from death as he pursues the creature through the Arctic, begins his tale, the reader grapples alongside the creature with the consequences of existence. Frankenstein has been adapted so many times into a myriad of versions, but if you've never read Mary Shelley's revolutionary novel, I would highly recommend you add it to your list. That's all for this week's edition of Bookmarks. Join us again on September 5th. I'll be looking for your favorite books about animals. Want to talk about a book you love? Email me at sarahcinto@wvia.org with Bookmarks in the subject line. All right, I hope you're feeling up to date. Find more stories at WVIA.org. I'm Sarah Scinto. Thanks for hanging out with me today. We're here every weekday, so make sure you subscribe and tune in so you don't miss anything. Have a great day, everyone. I'll catch you tomorrow, right here on Up to Date.